Have you ever felt your heart stop for someone you love? Not that silly butterfly zine in your stomach feeling from romantic movies. I'm talking about that eternal second where the entire world freezes and you realize you could lose everything. That's exactly what happened to Lucas Sinclair that night in Hawkins. And honestly, no scene in Stranger Things has ever destroyed me quite like this one. Think about it with me. Lucas spent the entire series being the skeptic of the group, the guy who questioned everything, who doubted, who needed concrete proof, but they're holding Max in his arms while her bones cracked like dry twigs in a storm. There was no more room for logic, just pure desperation. And you know what breaks me? The cruel irony of it all. Max spent months pushing everyone away. She built walls so high that even she couldn't see over them. After Billy, she convinced herself that pain was safer than connection, that hurting alone hurt less than dragging someone else into the abyss with her. Poor thing. She had no idea that teenage love in Hawkins doesn't follow any rules. Lucas could have given up. How many times did Max slam the door in his face? How many ignored messages? How many lonely walks to the cemetery where she pretended she didn't need anyone? But he stayed stubborn as a mule, but in a beautiful way, you know, the kind that makes you believe that maybe, just maybe, there are people who won't leave. Now, close your eyes for a second. Imagine being in his place. You walk into that abandoned Creel house and find the person you love floating in the air. Her eyes rolled back, white as dirty snow. And you can't do absolutely anything except watch. Your hands shake, your voice fails, and every second seems to suck away another piece of your sanity. The scene is just too brutal. The Duffer Brothers understood something that few content creators comprehend. True terror isn't in monsters. It's in helplessness. It is in loving someone so deeply that the possibility of losing them transforms you into someone else entirely. Lucas, the kid who always kept his cool, crumbled like a house of cards in a windstorm, and Max? Man, Max carried the weight of two worlds. On the outside, Vecna was tearing through her mind with poisoned memories. On the inside, she was fighting against the guilt that had been eating away at her bones for months. Billy's death became an anchor tied to her ankles, pulling her down, always down. That cursed monster knew exactly where to squeeze. But then something extraordinary happens. While Lucas screams her name in the real world, while his tears fall like summer rain, Max hears him. Not with her ears, with something deeper. That desperate voice crosses dimensions, tears through the veil between realities, and plants a seed of hope in the most barren soil. The soundtrack doesn't help anyone trying to hold back tears. Running Up That Hill practically became the anthem of this season, but in the final scene, silence weighs heavier than any music. There's only the sound of Lucas's sobs, the grotesque crack of bones. And that hoarse scream from a 15-year-old boy facing something adults couldn't even process. Look, science fiction series rarely nail human emotions. They usually get so caught up in special effects and wild plot twists that they forget the basics. But Stranger Things understood that aliens and parallel dimensions are just scenery. The heart of the story has always been these kids growing up way too fast in a world way too cruel. Lucas and Max represent something every teenager knows. That first love that feels bigger than the entire universe. That irrational certainty that you would do anything. Face any monster. Break any rule just to see that person smile again. Is it cheesy? Maybe. Is it real? More than we like to admit, the scene works because it doesn't romanticize suffering. There's no epic soundtrack when Max falls into Lucas's arms. There's no glamorous slow motion. There's only raw, visceral pain, the kind that turns your stomach. The creators force us to face the reality that love and loss walk hand in hand, and it hurts exactly as much as it should hurt. You know what impresses me most about this whole construction? Lucas's journey throughout the seasons. He started as the pragmatic friend, the one who wanted evidence before believing in anything supernatural. Season after season, we watch this kid learn that some truths don't fit into equations, that the heart tests reasons that reason knows nothing of, as that French philosopher once said. And when he finally completely embraces that vulnerability, it's precisely to hold the girl he loves while she dies. Life has these cruel ironies. Max distanced herself from everyone because she was afraid of hurting them, because she carried guilt for wishing, even for a millisecond, that Billy would disappear. She punished herself by building a prison of solitude, convinced she deserved to suffer alone. But love doesn't ask permission. It simply shows up, stubborn, inconvenient, necessary. Lucas represented everything Max thought she didn't deserve. Patience when she spat venom, presence when she begged for absence, hope when she had already buried her own. He was water in the desert, even when she insisted she wasn't thirsty. The rescue scene transcends teenage romance. It speaks about human connection at the most fundamental level, about how we need each other even when we swear we don't, about how the most transformative relationships usually happen with people who refuse to give up on us, even when we've already given up on ourselves. Stranger Things has always been about friendship, family, and belonging. Hawkins might be infested with demogorgons and portals to other dimensions, but the real battlefield has always been the human heart. And in this particular war, Lucas and Max represent the most beautiful and painful victory of all. Loving even knowing you might lose. When the credits rolled on that episode, millions of people around the world wiped away tears. Not because of the impressive special effects, not because of the well-built suspense, but because they saw in those two teenagers something universal, something that everyone who has ever truly loved recognizes instantly. What about you? Have you ever run to save someone who was certain they didn't want to be saved?